Welcome back everybody to Forza Horizon 5, and today we're taking a look at the 2023 Porsche 911 Rallye, also known as the Dakar. So this was unveiled in November 2022, and yeah, this is in essence a reimagined version of the classic 959 Rally Raid from the 80s, not just in terms of the way it looks, but also in terms of the fact it's essentially a road-going Porsche that has been designed to purely, well, not purely, but to tackle the off-road elements in a fine style, and in the same kind of style as an SUV would be able to manage, although in a sports car body with sports car performance on top of all of that. So yeah, the extras that have been added to this car to make it capable of going off-road include the likes of a higher ride height by 50mm, but you can raise it to for another 30mm on top of that if you so wish, although the top speed is limited to 105 miles an hour when you do that. It's got longer and softer springs, tougher dampers, it's got all-terrain tyres, no rear seats to help reduce the weight, because this does weigh quite a bit more than a normal standard 911. It's also got metal sills to improve, you know, this toughness of the car when going over any rocks or anything. And yeah, it's also got a 8-speed dual clutch automatic gearbox, and it also shares its brakes, that transmission, the 4-wheel steering, and its differentials with the 911 GTS. So yeah, it is essentially a GTS on some stilts with some additional bodywork modifications. But I still think overall it looks fantastic. And yeah, even though it could come across as a bit of a gimmick, this car is not a car that is all show and no go, because it does really rather quite perform on-road and off-road in equal measure. So yeah, looks fantastic. It's got a modicum of practicality at the front with a slight boot, but like I said, no rear seats, and obviously being a Porsche, it's got not going to have any rear boot space either. But inside, it looks fairly decent. Apparently there has been a reduction in sound deadening to again help keep the weight down, but overall it does look fairly similar to a normal 911, so you know, it's going to be comfortable, it's going to be easy to use and all that. But yeah, it's definitely a car that has plenty of off-road capabilities while still being a reasonably good sports car. That's what we can see of the engine, which obviously is not all that much. That's purely there just so you can fill up the oil and such, and that's basically it. But yeah, looks fantastic, and yeah, has plenty of power under the go from its engine at the back. So it now has it shares the engine with the 911 GTS, I believe. It's a 3-litre twin turbocharged flat 6, which produces 473 horsepower and 420 pounds-feet of torque, which is quite a lot for what is obviously a more off-road vehicle than on-road. And yeah, but it does weigh 3,552 pounds, which is obviously about a couple £100 more than some more basic 911s that we have on this game. But still, that is plenty of power, plenty of torque, and given what it's more meant for, which is going off-road, that is still more than enough power to deal with any off-road conditions, and yeah, get you up to a fair, decent amount of speed on you know, going off-road, where obviously normally you don't need a great deal of speed, but you certainly do need plenty of off-road capability, and this does have it with the increased ride height, the all-wheel drive system, and the fact that it's been designed to deal with bumps and shocks in a lot more of a compliant way. They could have very easily just done it the lazy way and just raise the ride height and just go, there we go, it's an off-road vehicle, but they have put some thought into it, which is great to see, and it's kind of something that they need, really, considering how much they were selling this for. £173,000, which is a huge amount of money for a car that is basically a toy. But the units were limited to 2,500, so yeah, not very many of these were made, which is a bit of a shame because I'd like to have seen more of them out there. So yeah, in terms of modifications, in terms of the bodywork, we can put on some, put the usual Forza aero on the front, and we can also give it some extra lights. We can also remove the rack on the top, if it'll let me show you. Oh, well, we can actually also remove the metal sills if you so wish. Not sure why. And yeah, like I said, we can remove the roof box. I'm not sure if it lets me show you in this mode. Yeah, so we can remove the roof box. That does reduce the weight by about 11 pounds. Or you can put a roof box on. So you can have the rack, or you can have the roof box itself, which again will add a bit of weight on top. So yeah, or you can just, you know, put a new spoiler on the back. So yeah, reasonable modifications there, not a great deal, but yeah, nonetheless, let's get out onto the open road and see just what this car can do. Right, so here we are at the drag strip, so let's see what it can do before we hit the speed camera, and then we'll take it on a little bit of an off-road course, and then we'll even get it around the track, just to show how versatile this car is. So yeah, let's firstly see what it's like in terms of speed and acceleration. So as you can see, because of that gearbox, because it's got a fair decent amount of power and horsepower, even with the additional weight of, say, a normal 911 turbo, or maybe even a more basic 911, I guess the GTS, basically the ones with rear wheel drive, are still able to get up to a good amount of speeds there. So more than 140 mile an hour there, which is pretty good. And then we're also still capable of going off road as well. And it does it with absolute ease. It's also pretty fun to drive as well on these conditions. It does seem to have a little bit of a rear wheel drive bias, so you can slide it around like an old rally car, but you still got the security of that all wheel drive should you need it, and especially when you want to fly out of corners. So yeah, it's absolutely superb on these off-road conditions, quite frankly. Really looking forward to seeing what this can do on extreme off-road ceiling builds. That's the kind of course and kind of series where a car like this should excel. And yeah, it's just really rather fantastic to have. Hopefully we get the Lamborghini, I think it was the Huracan off-road version, because that would be really fun to have as well, and including with this. Not sure if any other, companies that make sports cars or supercars have also done a off-road conversion like this and the Lamborghini, but it would be nice to see if they have. Not sure if Morgan ever did one, I'm pretty sure they did. But regardless, yeah, this is fantastic on-road or off-road. As you can see, it's still got plenty of sports car potential. The additional weight isn't really noticeable. Neither is the extra ride height either. It seems to handle that extra ride height really rather nicely. There's no excessive body roll or anything like that. And it still is pretty damn sharpish, even with that additional weight. So yeah, let's look at the stats. So this is actually top end A class, unlike a lot of other Porsches. I'll just quickly show you what the Porsches that we'll be up against look like. So yeah, we've got the 911 Carrera S, which has less power, less torque, but also less weight by 212 pounds. But as you can see, it does have the same engine, but also only rear wheel drive. Then you've got the Turbo S, which yeah, has even less weight. Oh no, that's been upgraded. Ignore that one. I forget that some of these cars I have upgraded, so yeah, pardon me if I do get them a little bit mixed up. But yeah, they're basically the ones that we're that Carrera that we just looked at is basically the one that we'll be up against. But this still has plenty on the go for its in terms of stats. The off-road capability, launch, acceleration, handling and speed are all fairly good. Braking is a little bit on the downside. It's probably due to the all-terrain tyres, which on the off-road elements probably do work quite well in terms of braking, but when it comes to on-road braking, it's not quite as good. But they're still fairly decent. At the end of the day, you've got that all-wheel drive to help you brake as well and control the car and get out of any sticky situations. Because yeah, that all-wheel drive system with the four-wheel steering and the diffs working in tandem do all work together to make the car a very safe and easy car to drive. So even if the brakes aren't the greatest, you probably could maneuver your way out of any situation that you need to brake in either. Anyway, so yeah, but nonetheless, let's hear what this car sounds like, and we'll talk about it some more. So yeah, it sounds pretty good. Sounds like a lot of 911s that are modern, but it sounds a little bit distinct in its own right, especially when you go inside, which is why I did that, because with the lessened sound deadening, the car does sound a little bit louder than normal on the inside, which is good to see. And yeah, acceleration is still pretty damn rapid. 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, 0 to 107.8 seconds, and yeah, on this game at the very least it will go to 193 miles an hour, although I hear that with the all-terrain tyres on it is limited to about 149 in real life, but that's still pretty damn quick, especially if you're going off-road at that speed, and yeah, that's certainly faster than a lot of off-roaders will actually go. So yeah, in terms of, you know, straight line speed and acceleration, it's actually really, really good. And like I said, it's capable of being just as fun on-road as it is off-road. As here, yeah, there's really not all that much in the way of noticeable body roll. There is a little bit, you can see it at the times, leaning a little bit, but it's nowhere near as dramatic as you might expect for a car that at the end of the day is higher riding than it would normally. But even despite that, yeah, it's got plenty of grip, it's got good turning, fantastic turning for that matter, and yeah, with that all-wheel drive system you can absolutely just fly out of the corner. So yeah, this is one of the more, you know, perfect all-rounders, quite frankly. There's not very many out there that are like this, and yeah, certainly in terms of sports cars there really isn't many out like this. So yeah, I really do like it. I know some people have criticised it for its price, the livery in particular. Some people have not liked. I think apparently it costs about £18,000 to buy this livery with the car, which is ridiculous, quite frankly. But yeah, it all does look the part as far as I'm concerned, and yeah, and thankfully it's not just an all show no go kind of car either, because it's got plenty of performance on road, it's got great performance off road, and yeah, it's able to deal with that off road element while not compromising the on-road capabilities either. So yeah, it's a really, really, really good, fantastic machine really, and it's really well designed and has had plenty of thought put into it as well. So yeah, highly recommend getting this in the Forza Festival playlist at the moment. It is only 20 points, it's well worth getting, it's a really rather fun car to drive, and I'm looking forward to seeing what else we can do with it in this game. Nonetheless, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.